Welcome. This is Astrology Insight Now, a weekly forecast program with astrology and other ways to help you make the most of your week and to heighten confidence for daily life. It's run by Pamela Cuccinell, that's me, the astrologer, and I invite you to find out more about my work at insightoasis.com. I look forward to your joining us every week. Please share with your friends, and here we go. January 19th, 2026. This is the day often celebrated honoring Martin Luther King Jr. in the United States. And I say that with the understanding that holidays are getting moved around and everything is open to change with the present governmental administration. But for many people in the United States, there is an honor and recognition of Martin Luther King Day on this year, January 19th, Monday. We're in the waxy moon cycle. The moon is in the sign of Aquarius, which is actually lovely for a man who was about civil disobedience in ways that had to do with peaceful demonstrations to promote equality for all human beings. The thing about this particular day this year with that moon in Aquarius is we want to keep in mind that Aquarius is the sign that has traditionally a rulership allegiance to the planet Saturn, which many people don't quite realize in, quote, modern astrology. But traditionally, Saturn was the planet linked to Aquarius. And Uranus, when it was discovered, soon became the planet linked to Aquarius because Uranus, discovered at the time of the French and American revolutions, discovery of electricity, freedom at all costs, seems to symbolize change, the unexpected, out of the blue occurrences, which feel like the energetic vibration of Aquarius to many people, because Aquarians or people with strong Aquarius signatures often are people who are strong individuals, don't do things the way other people necessarily do in their world, and very much want to stand out for their unique expression. Now, since I am an Aquarius and actually have a bit of Aquarius in my horoscope, I have a theory as to why Saturn needs to be considered just as strongly, if not more, than the planet Uranus. And that is because Aquariuses are a fixed sign. The sign happens in the middle of the season, so sustaining the season, even though climate change is wreaking havoc on all of this. But the Aquarius has this frozen, if you will, quality to it. And what that can mean is like a strobe light suddenly getting attention. But it also means that when an Aquarian does something that seems like it came out of nowhere, it has been methodically considered by the agent of the seeming spontaneous reaction. Aquariuses are not people who surprise themselves. They may surprise people around them, but they know why they do what they do. And saying that, looking at Monday the 19th, we have this buildup energy because as the moon travels through the sign Monday, Tuesday, it will eventually be in a 90-degree picture to the planet Uranus from Earth's perspective. And so I see these couple of days. The other thing I want to mention is that Saturn in late degree Pisces and Uranus in late degree Taurus are in a harmonious aspect at this point in time. So there's a working together of these seemingly disparate energies. I could go into the mythology of Saturn and Uranus, but suffice to say, they are both energies that speak about a kind of authority. Yes, Uranus is more chaotic, and Saturn is more rigid. But these two energies together are creating a synergy that is stoking on this day. Overall, I would consider this, and the sun enters the sign of Aquarius on the 19th. So as we're opening this week, we are entering into a week on the coattails of that new moon that kicked off over the weekend, to a week that has a lot to do with how forces work together. So as you continue to work, whatever it is you want to create or make happen in this lunar cycle, you can absolutely utilize the energy of what I would call calculated chaos, considering how do you shake things up in order to methodically do what is necessary to carry out your plan. Let me explain this a little differently. Let's say you want to plant a garden in the northern hemisphere. This would be more challenging at this point of time because the earth may well be frozen. But as a metaphor, you want to plant a garden. So what's the first step? You have to break up the soil. The soil is hard. It maybe needs to be worked. It needs to be able to accept, embrace the seeds that you will plant, allow the water to move around it so that whatever you're planting can find the space, be aerated, the earth aerated to grow. As we look at whatever our goals are over this period of time going forward, which we may not even be able to see crystallized, how do we actually achieve them? What's more important in the nascent stages of the new moon energy is to be clear of the goal. I've been reading a book about habits and how habits are formed, and when we want to change habits, how we are going to create habits that are sustainable, that we actually are able to stick to. And yes, part of it is whatever the routine or habit is, has to be something that fits in your lifestyle and you can maintain. Also, you want to be clear on what that goal is of why you're doing the habit. But perhaps most importantly is, what is the reward for regularly doing that habit? And initially, like training a monkey or a puppy, you may have to provide a snack or something that really gets that allegiance. But the main thing is, okay, here's my goal, whatever that is that I'm working on achieving in this lunar cycle and perhaps beyond. And if I don't get that instant, okay, now it's happening, I'm realizing the goal, how at least do I reward myself for the one foot in front of the other for the application of the habit to achieve the goal. And on this day, with the creativity of Uranus and the moon in Aquarius, there may be something that concretely has to come in to reward whatever the continual behavior is for achieving that goal. Remember, we are in times where there is strategic planning to thwart certain goals from being achieved. And it may be that at times how we're working towards them have a subtlety and a way that we're going forward, even though it seems like we may be staying in place. And I think one of the most important things to be doing is regular meditation, aiming towards a more whole, sustainable society and world. But in that practice, whatever we may be quietly doing, there may also be things that each of us are doing that are moving quietly, or perhaps not so quietly, for the changes we want to create. Remember what I said about Aquarian energy. It may come as a surprise to those who didn't know what was going on within that energy of the Aquarian planning, but it was absolutely going on in a very methodical, structured, Saturnine way. Aquarius does what it does in a way that is, this is my ritual, my habit, what sustains me in order to create true change and freedom. Overall, I see Monday as being a very strong day creatively, a very strong day to engage with agents of change. There's a Mars Uranus picture in the sky that is supportive. The important thing is be aware of everything around you, because you want to keep your eye on whatever that goal, reward, prize will be. And this follows into Tuesday. The thing to keep in mind on Tuesday is that 9:16 p.m., the times I give her Eastern time, there's that moon square Uranus picture that shows something unexpected, or something comes forward in a way that can feel chaotic if we are not the agents of the change. So if you're the agent of the change, whatever it is you're putting into place, it may seem as though, whoa, I just got this epiphany or encouragement, or something came more suddenly than I expected. But with conscious awareness, this is so super important whenever Uranus is involved in what's coming along, because we want to be aware of our surroundings, including what's going on within us. So it's more important to be conscious of what your response is than being reactive to whatever is presented to you. Once the moon goes void, of course, at that point in the late evening, then it'll eventually enter the sign of Pisces, but not until 1:50 a.m. the next day, on Wednesday, the 21st. Now, when the moon is in Pisces over these couple of days, I see very much lovely energy that can be very supportive, very sustaining, very wonderful for listening, for expanding, for exploring. for being open to new possibilities, perhaps depending on what's going on with you, income streams, ways that you might increase your personal abundance, either financially or through opportunities or things that give you more vision or allow you more a sense of fulfillment or possibilities. So open up to that, allow that in. One of the things that I've become aware of as I concentrate more on sustaining good health is avoiding compression of the skeletal system. The tendency, oh, and if it's cold, the tendency to kind of shrink the rib cage, draw in less breath. And this is one of the things that creates so many colds and flus for us in the cold weather because we limit how much fresh air we bring in. And we want to allow ourselves that sustaining of even breath, constant breath, and healthy breath. So the opening of the rib cage and the the strengthening and the elongation of muscles, the spine, etc. It's this whole opening that we're allowing in. As I said earlier about Aquarius with Pisces, its first ruling planet is Jupiter. And then again, with the discovery of Neptune, a lot of astrologers consider Neptune connected to Pisces, but you cannot forget about Jupiter. Well, I mean, people do, but I recommend you don't because Jupiter is energetically about the exuberance, the expansion, the risk taking. And we want it to be safe risks. Obviously, you don't walk into a room with people who are hacking away or have some sort of illness you don't want to catch without a certain level of caution and protection. But you do want to open yourself to going outside and being in the world in a way that feels invigorating, that gives you a sense of beauty. Another story I'll tell is as a young person, I ended up in a university in the snow belt, and I quickly learned to wear a hat and long underwear. And this whole experience about how woefully prepared I was to protect my feet and hands and my entire circulation system because I really didn't know what it was like to be so bitterly cold so much of a 24-hour day. And I say this because once I started to understand how to be outside in bitter cold, I eventually discovered cross country skiing and how to enjoy myself in the outer world in bitter winter. And this is part of where we can learn to find beauty in places that seem shut out to us if we allow ourselves a total sense of feeling victimized and limited. And I think on the 21st and 22nd into the 23rd, many of us, if we allow ourselves, can feel where are the connections? What can make me feel more empowered? Many people at this point in time feel disempowered, feel alienated, feel there's a lot of messaging to make us feel afraid. And I invite you over these days to reach out and explore. And regardless of how timid you may be, see, surf, find ways in which you can gather a sense of community, a sense of feeling part of something. Because the moon in Pisces, as it travels through the sign, eventually embraces in alignment Neptune in Pisces. And this journey of Neptune in Pisces has brought in a lot of what may be considered negative messaging. Oh, just self-medicate, escape, um, feel like a victim, feel disempowered. No one's listening to you. On the other hand, it can also feel like there are so many ways to connect and find music, voices that sing and embrace and do this wonderful way of speaking to each other so that we understand more than we ever have before. The negative, or the thing that needs to be explored in greater depth, and I think it will be when Neptune moves into Aries and starts to burn off a lot of the miasma, illusion, confusion that this has created, is that people can find niches or worlds that just support or blow up or continue to uh, water or nurture or feed or fester their greatest fears or theories of how the world is threatening and dangerous and who is safe and who isn't. And we need to understand that the allowing something to come in and basically program or echo parts of us that are perhaps not the highest octave of our human evolution keep us small. Back to what I was saying about habits. If you've ever tried to move on from a destructive habit or something that you've wanted to limit, for instance, perhaps drinking too much or smoking too much or losing yourself in too many videos or games or feeling unable to create that sense of how to eat less or do things that were healthier for you, and feeling the whole weight of the world that was just about that story. Um, it's 5 o'clock, it's 6 o'clock, I come home at night and I drink. This is what I do. How do we change that story? How do we create something new about what it is we want to do or become? And this is the absolute beauty of conscious reflection, of visioning what not only can I be, but who am I now? And when we really look with kind of a microscopic lens of who we might think we are today, we might see that we've created this whole story that feels like it is who we are, but it's a story. And so, how do we strip down to the real essence of who we are? And one way is through very present, conscious meditation, creating systems in which we move from negative programming to embrace and create messaging, a reality, our story that is one we write ourselves, not one we just sort of fell into. So the moon goes for it, of course, at 8:17 a.m. on Friday the 23rd, and it enters Aries at 8:26 a.m. Now, this is a relatively short sprint, considering how long the moon has been in a sign most of the week. It's all day on Friday, and then until 4:36 p.m. on Saturday. Highly productive day on Friday. Absolutely burn it. Do what you want to do, make things happen, move with what may feel for some of us like minimum effort, like you have the fuel you need in the car to go where you need to go. The most important thing on this day is you are clear of what your priorities are. Otherwise, you may find that on Friday into Saturday, lots of distractions, lots of tangents, lots of things you maybe didn't have to do or weren't as important as some of the things you really wanted to make happen. Then again, maybe you just want to do a lot of things in a day and a half, and that's fine too. But if things are super important to you, prioritize them and knock them out and get them done Friday into Saturday late afternoon. Moon goes for it, of course, at 4:36 p.m. on Saturday. This is a late afternoon, evening, not to push too hard, to wrap up things, to do exercises your body is used to doing, and just kind of it's like what it feels like a fire is just kind of slowly burning out. You're just watching the beautiful process happen. The moon goes void, of course. No, sorry, the moon enters the sign of Taurus at 1:05 p.m. on Sunday the 25th. So Sunday morning, I wouldn't push too hard, do things that are in your regular routine. Once the moon goes into Taurus, this is a day when you're going to want to start aiming towards things that you want to do, but the ideal is to consider on Sunday whatever may come up and seem to be getting in your way. It might be conversations, other people, things you don't have that you need. It doesn't have to be a crazy day at all. It can be a day when you're just sort of sitting, watching the sun move in the sky and considering how you're going to map and plan things out. Because when we start Monday, the following week, you can do very methodical aims towards what it is you want to accomplish. But on Sunday, it's best to see whatever may get in your way and plan so that you avoid that happening once you put things in motion. You have been listening to Astrology Insight Now. Please share with your friends, and if you'd like to make a donation, you can do so at astrologyinsightnow.com. Have a stellar week, and we hope to see you next time.